Welcome back to Real Phonies, where we take a love for movies and television and combine it with very little knowledge about movies or television. I'm your host, Christian. Joined with me is Joseph.
Hello.
Ian.
Hey, what's up, guys?
And old Jehu.
How's it going?
Back again. We're going to do something different. We've speculated a lot of things in the past. This time it's going to be a little more specific on what we want and expect out of Marvel Phase 4. Maybe some new origin stories or sequels. And some predictions we have for some of the characters. But I think, Hurt, you're going to start us off with...
Oh, yeah, okay, I'll go first. I think a lot of these, when people are doing these... Because, first of all, don't you think it's kind of strange that talking about superhero movies has kind of become like talking about sports?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone does it.
It's always, you just replace coaches with directors and trades with pitches. Yeah. But... I think a lot of people, when they're talking about this, they're based about, bringing in Fantastic Four, bringing in X-Men. My first pitch idea, the most probable one I think I have, is the X-Men. Mm-hmm. I think the problem with the X-Men is, like, nobody wants to start over, but nobody wants it to continue from the other thing either. They're like, damned if they do, damned if they don't. So I would go with, and I'm going to go from source material on this. There's a writer, Grant Morrison. He's mostly known for DC stuff, but he did a short tenure in Marvel, and he did a run on the X-Men. And I think his run would be, like, perfect for this, because the premise of his begin with is there was suddenly a huge growth in mutant population. Up to that point, there had been like, maybe there's a couple thousand mutants on Earth, till... suddenly the mutants were a significant part of the population. There were mutant ghettos in cities. There was mutant culture, mutant art. Mm-hmm. And I think that could fit into the Marvel universe pretty well. Because I don't want to start with an X-Men origin movie. So how about they've been here for a while, but, they're sort of under the radar, maybe even almost like an urban myth. And then the Thanos snap causes the substantial growth in the population, and suddenly mutants are everywhere.
Yep.
Another thing Morrison did that I thought was cool that he actually took from the old movies, he just did better work with it, is that the X-Men weren't students at the school, they were the teachers at the school. And, the lineup that he chose was really good. I think they would work well in the Marvel universe. Casting, man, did you guys listen to that Wolverine podcast?
Yeah.
I think that guy would make a good Wolverine in real life.
Richard Armitage?
Yeah. He was, I assume he's short because he played a dwarf. I don't know if that's actually true.
I'm not sure if he actually is.
He actually is already in the Marvel universe.
He is?
He is and he could totally play Wolverine, but in Captain America, the very first one, Avenger, he is the guy when Cap first gets his powers, chases through the streets and, like, goes to get in the submarine and has the tooth thing, and that's him. Is
it really?
Yeah, that's Richard
Dude,
Armitage.
I'm going with right now. You make that fucking Wolverine.
Oh.
He was brainwashed like Wolverine all the fucking time.
Yeah.
He was sent there to assassinate. He took his cyanide capsule, died, woke up a few hours later because he's fucking Wolverine.
I actually really dig that idea.
Yeah, that would work perfect.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Where's my $1 million?
I have a really cheesy name for your movie.
Okay.
X-Men Expansion.
That's a great
shit. That's really good.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
That'd work.
So where do you start on that? Like, who are you, like, your main characters? Or
Wolverine, Cyclops, Jean Grey. White Queen's got to be one because a big part of that is a White Queen, Jean Grey, Cyclops.
So Wolverine's your main character.
Yeah, Wolverine and Cyclops are the main characters. Yep. I don't really like Wolverine as the main character because it kind of... Like, Cyclops should be the main guy, and Wolverine should look cool because he's always busting the main guy's
Agreed.
See, and I like that because if they redo it, they want to do it different. And all the X-Men movies have been centered on Magneto, Xavier.
Right.
So if you're going to do it different, center it on Logan and Cyclops. You know what I mean? As your main character.
We definitely need to do some Cyclops justice.
Yeah, as much as I dig that guy who played Cyclops,
James
he never
Marsden.
he never got his chance to shine.
Good.
I was just going to ask, to me, Cyclops is the key to all of this working.
Right.
Yep.
And
you got to cast him right.
Who would be the right cast for
he's
Cyclops?
hard. The only one that would come to mind is Joseph Gordon-Levitt to me first.
That's
not
actually
terrible.
That's a pretty good.
That's a pretty good.
Yeah, but I don't. I don't know. He's got to be kind of like a Boy Scout, but you can't hate him, and that's tough.
Well, he's also got to play uptight. You know,
Yeah.
Cyclops has a stick up his ass.
But you also, and you don't. That can turn people off easily. So it's you got to walk a line there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, Cyclops has walked kind of a moral line in comics, and I think JGL is a good choice, man. It's fair casting.
Yeah. And I also really I feel like one of the strengths of some of the early X-Men movies is kind of the swaying of impressionable minds. So I like this idea that you have the Hellfire Club, or at least the White Queen, kind of going one way, and then Jean Grey and the other X-Men all trying to get in touch with these young people who have been oppressed, downcast, whatever, and swaying them to their side. And I think that would really work well.
I also think I really like the teacher idea because not that there's too much of a market, but already having Spider-Man be a student in this universe, I don't think you want to overdo it. That's what makes Spider-Man special.
Right.
So, having, especially like if they're like mid-20s or early 30s or something like that, X-Men characters, I think would work better than saying like the current batch of X-Men movies where they're students. And
with the students, you get, people to give the leg up for the later movies. You get comic relief. You get, the best section of Morrison's X-Men was a thing called Riot as Xavier's, where one of the students becomes militant and takes over the campus. I think that would make a great movie.
So who do you think the villain?
That's tough to say. Well, the two main villains of his run. Well, there's a third one, but it would sort of spoil it for anyone who hadn't read it, so I won't say the third one.
Yeah.
But the first two was a character called Cassandra Nova, who I don't really think they could do because she's very continuity heavy. The other one was a guy named Johnny Sublime, who essentially his things was he was kidnapping mutants, carving them up, and grafting the parts onto people to give humans mutant powers.
Whoa.
So, he's a pretty dark villain.
That's dark as shit.
I think you could make him a villain and then, have a pretty cool group of like super powered badasses backing him up.
Yep.
Just to get off the Magneto track and maybe bring Magneto back later.
Yeah, because who else haven't they used? Like Marvel loves to use people they haven't used before.
Right.
The only person I can think is Mr. Sinister.
Mr. Sinister they haven't really used.
But they've used everyone else, right?
Right, pretty much.
Except who's the guy in the TV show on FX? They could probably pull him off. Shadow King?
Yeah.
See, I bet they'd leave him alone though, just because of that show.
Yeah, Marvel has the television rights to X-Men, so they're the ones producing Legion and Gifted, I believe. I may be wrong about that.
No, I think they are too. Yeah, I just mean it just hasn't been done in the Marvel like a movie.
Yeah.
But definitely. I would say Sinister, but he's hard to get right too. Man.
Yeah.
Casting, I think
it's
it.
hard. It's hard. I think the X-Men will be difficult casting mostly because whether the first two sets of X-Men movies are good or bad, they're good cast.
They are.
Yeah. Right. Totally.
Yeah.
You know what else they could do is they could bring in some of the kids like Jubilee and Iceman. Maybe make some. You could have some students too. You know what I mean?
Well, and also where you're sitting at, where it's starting in the middle, you could still have at some point a movie about the original 5 X-Men.
Yep.
You could still do the origin story after the fact. I just don't think they should.
Let's
stop
not
there.
for quite a while.
Right.
I think that's fine.
It's much like Batman at this point. I don't think we need to see the birth of it anymore.
And I don't want to sound like I was ragging on the Fox X-Men movies. I would give that franchise overall better than Transformers. There's some bad spots. X-Men 3 is a pretty bad spot.
It's a black one, but
Logan definitely.
That last one, Apocalypse, was that even a movie?
Yeah.
That's tough, man. We can't.
Yeah, I can't go in that one. So I like that. Yeah,
that's really
maybe we'll keep going and maybe come back and hear your other ones.
I think I've
got at least one other that's just batshit. No way it ever happened.
So I had really struggled with this, but I have most of a half-baked idea on what I think is a character they've been building up for a long time in the MCU, and one that I've really grown interested in, and I want to see what they do with him. I'd really like to see Bucky as Captain America. I can't remember. Did they talk about doing like a TV show with?
There is a rumor on Disney Plus that it would be a Bucky Falcon show. So it may not be like
that's probably. You know what that probably is? There's a comic run. I think it's called Captain America's, and I bet you maybe Captain America dies, and maybe they both become Captain America. Because they both have been Captain America.
Yeah.
Called Captain America's.
I still like the And maybe that's inappropriate, but I like the idea of Bucky taking over as
Yeah.
Captain America with the Falcon as
I
kind
feel
of
like it's certainly built to that.
It's definitely built to
100%.
that.
That's where it's going to go.
And you get kind of like his struggle with both like squaring being in the spotlight instead of being kind of like this shadow agent, or he could still be a shadow agent and just kind of struggle with the things that he's done and also like trying to overcome and do good. I feel like you could definitely seed in a plot line where he is still afraid that he's somewhat mind controlled, and he finds all these little nuggets during whatever he's doing that makes him think that, oh no, there's still Hydra out there, there's still things that are controlling him. And I don't know exactly. I know you had a similar pitch.
Well, you know
Jason
what?
Hurd.
Your thing,
That's
you
not
just
bad.
sit there, fixed part of my pitch.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that's a good idea.
My thing is Captain America dying is the most speculated thing in the Marvel universe for like the last for
4 or 5 years now.
Yeah,
Since Civil War.
That's what I
Civil
mean.
War, like everybody's okay. This one's going to end with Captain America dying, and it never does. I think there's a possibility. Everybody thinks he's going to die fighting Thanos. I think there's a possibility he might not.
Yeah.
In comics, he didn't die as part of a big event. He died being like
Crossbone shoots him, right?
Right. He had been arrested for his part in Civil War. He was on the courthouse step and he gets assassinated by Crossbones. And for a while, Captain America comics did not star Captain America. So that's what I would do with the miniseries on Disney if I was them. Is it would be about what I was going to say would be Bucky and Falcon trying to find Cap's killer.
Oh yeah,
And
But if he does die fighting Thanos, they could just make it about that. Because I think Bucky needs to go through a period where he's talking himself into being Cap.
Yeah.
Before he's Cap.
and I like
That's interesting.
I
I
like
like
the
that.
idea that he would still be kind of like if it's like a revenge mission for Cap's killer, he's still fighting his more violent impulses from
Yeah.
like being the
Yeah.
Winter Soldier and trying to like live into the ideal of what he feels that Cap Steve Rogers would
Yeah.
want him to be, like instead of being what he feels
And
like
I think he
is.
would be like getting through grieving Cap's death.
Yeah,
Like you
exactly.
could work Falcon and Bucky working through Cap's death. You know
and
what I mean? They have to-
they're the
they-
perfect odd pair.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's
becoming
great for the
friends.
show. I think that's a great thing.
You
for the
could
show.
also bring
I
an
still
Agent
think you
Thir-
need to do a Bucky Cap movie.
Well, see, I think when they get to the movie's called Captain America and Falcon.
Yep.
And it's Bucky is Captain America with Falcon as like his partner.
And I think you bring in Agent 13 as the female lead in there too.
Yeah.
She could also be working through. You know what I mean?
Here is my
Giving
thing,
them
though.
intel.
Do you think...
And then they can make out over the grief
Well, I'm
of
saying
Steve Rogers'
She could
death.
easily play the Sam Jackson shield role and
Oh,
be giving
definitely.
them the
Right.
intel on the killer of Captain
sure.
America.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Do you think Captain America dying is Captain America's dead and he stays dead? And, he's taken over by a replacement. Or at some point, Chris Evans comes back as Cap. Or it's the gateway to a recast for Steve Rogers.
See, I think how it's going to end, personally, I think I've said this. I think the snap's going to basically, he's going to change all the history of it somehow, and he's going to never have fallen in the ice, and he's going to have been in the 40s, and no one's
Yeah.
going to remember Captain
I
America.
don't know if you've heard our
I think
idea.
Tony Stark's...
I've heard that.
I think
Yeah.
Tony Stark's going to be the only one who's going to remember it all. That's what I
Yeah.
really think is going to happen.
The
He's
problem-
like not going to exist.
The problem that I do have with that, and it sucks that like business decisions always like kind of affect how we view this. Sebastian Stan has the highest number of films on his contract.
Yeah.
He signed up for 9 movies, and so as far as I know, he's done 4. I think.
I think that's right.
So there are 5 films left.
Yeah.
Yep.
And of course, he turned to dust at the end of Infinity War, so we don't know how much he's going to be in Endgame. So he's definitely set up for a bigger role in the future, right?
Also, there's a tremendous number of reasons why Bucky is going to be Cap, but the number one thing to me is they cast a really handsome guy as Winter Soldier and made him look awful. So at
Yeah.
some point
He's gonna cut his hair.
They're going to cut his hair and get rid of the eyeshadow and
but what
clean
you said,
up.
I don't
He's gonna
think they
be handsome as
ever
hell.
recast Steve Rogers.
Well, see,
Never.
this is what I think.
Yeah.
I personally think probably the most used comic book story from about 1994 to now is what I call the 3 R's: remove, replace, return.
Yeah.
You get 3 sales bumps.
That happens a lot. In
Yeah.
It does.
Cap going away whenever he goes away is the remove. Bucky is the replace. you got to have him come back for the return.
And
you don't get the third bump without it.
If everything ends up leading to like a Secret Wars film, absolutely, I do. And I think that plays to what you're talking about.
Yeah.
You put Steve back in the 40s. The Cosmic Cube never gets found. Then somewhere, when they're selecting the people for the Secret Wars,
he comes back.
They select him.
And also, that would give a chance for Steve Rogers or Chris Evans. He wants a break from all this shit.
Yeah.
So, Bucky gets to be Captain America for 4 movies, and then, hey, I'm ready to come back, guys.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I want to make $100 million.
Yeah, I'm ready again. I did my fucking indie movies. Like, I'm ready to come back.
Also, in comics, when Cap was gone, he was bouncing through time. He wasn't really dead. So your thing would work with that easily.
Yep.
Yeah,
that'd be cool.
That's my idea. What you got, Ian?
So I came up with one for Fantastic Four in the MCU.
Yep.
And
it's bound to happen.
Yes, I hope so. And I had it, set post Infinity War, and I think John Krasinski. I was thinking for Reed Richards. I was thinking Emily Blunt or Rosamund Pike for
Rosamund Pike's a good one.
I love Rosamund Pike.
I really like.
I want
that
her to become
a
a thing.
Yeah.
And then I got for Zac Efron as Johnny Storm.
Okay. I'm
way
on into that.
Yep. I love your
then
cast so far.
I got Michael Cudlitz or John Cena as the Thing. Michael Cudlitz is the redhead in Walking Dead.
Right. I also would get on board really well.
I can see that as well, yeah.
And then for Doom, I think a Javier Bardem or Matthew McConaughey, but I think Javier Bardem is the one I'm really...
Matthew McConaughey can't do any voice but Matthew McConaughey voice. Yeah. Javier Bardem.
I think he would be good as Doom.
The only problem I have with Krasinski is he's so fucking tall.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard having a Mr. Fantastic who's taller than Thor.
But I really... I think he could be cool. But
I also wonder... I know he played Jim. He was about to say, can he play dickish enough to be Reed Richards?
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, he can. Never mind.
And how I saw it is definitely kind of an origin story. It's post-Infinity War. Like Reed Richards, I'm thinking runs some, the Reed Richards Foundation, and it's like an offshoot of like a new Shield. And I'm thinking,
can I add something to your thing right now? You know how Happy is talking about the Avengers building being sold?
Yeah,
that's the new Baxter building.
Yeah, I like that. And
you've got the details today. You're on the details.
And basically, Reed's investigating a disturbance in far space, and you also see that Tony Stark comes to visit him. Tony Stark, I'm thinking, is like running S.H.I.E.L.D. now. He's retired. You know what I mean? He's out of the Iron Man game. And Tony's telling him, hey, don't investigate it. You know what I mean? And Reed's like, hey, new people got to pick this up. You're retired now. So they go out there, and it's Galactus like coming in. And it's like, I'm thinking the beginning of the movie is like 2001 Space Odyssey. So they're kind of in space, and you can kind of see some stuff. And then they run into Galactus and kind of get their powers. And
I would make one correction to that.
Go.
When Jim Lee tried to reboot the Fantastic Four and it was terrible, he had one really good idea, that the Fantastic Four got their powers from the Silver Surfer. Because the Silver Surfer is the herald of Galactus. Yep. Yeah. He collides with him in space, and with the powers cosmic, he gives them powers.
And that's who that's right. So they run into Silver Surfer and Galactus, and Doom is kind of in the background, and he's I kind of have him set up as like the villain in the second one. I think is how it would be. So
I mean, Doom is the one thing that I feel like we just desperately need at some point.
Yeah, I think he's arguably the best part of Marvel getting these characters back. I feel like they can set up such a cool, just consistent villain, because that's one thing we don't really have. You got rid of Ultron. Loki's, I guess, a good guy now. Mm-hmm. You could constantly have Doom just in the background, and they can't touch him.
Like your Lex Luthor of the Marvel universe.
I think Dr. Doom's the greatest comic villain of all times. I think the stuff about him that is cheesy even makes him more awesome. The Richards stuff and things like that. I love that shit.
Yeah,
so
I think he could be cool. I want to definitely show his magic. I think a cool way to bring him in maybe is like you bring in maybe him fighting Doctor Strange.
Right.
And maybe have him beat Doctor Strange, with a version of a magic fight. You know what I mean? And then also, the Doom bots. He's got to use the Doom bots too. I think you need to make him definitely your A-list villain.
I mean, you could definitely do the standard. They get their powers. They realize Galactus is a problem. And they try to solve it. They can't solve it. They realize they have to parlay with Doom, who also realizes, well, if I don't have Earth, it's the villains teaming up with the heroes kind of thing to fight a greater evil.
So I remember what my third pitch was, and I'm just gonna do it as a counterpoint to yours because I can do this very short.
Yeah.
first of all, I think Doctor Doom, if they can do it, introduce him in the Stinger to Infinity War. Yeah. Show Doctor Doom. It'll be just like when they showed Thanos. Everybody will either know what it is or immediately want to know what it is.
They'll know it more than they know Thanos.
Right, exactly. So I think that one thing with the Marvel Universe, the 60s are blank. Nothing's happened in the MCU, which is weird because that's where Marvel comes from. It's from the 60s. All their origins are tied to the Cold War, shit like that.
Yep.
So at some point in the past, Doctor Doom won. He imprisoned the Fantastic Four in some kind of stasis in the 60s. They've been off the board since then. He comes back. He fucks shit up. The only way to stop him is to reawaken the Fantastic Four.
Oh, that's also a good idea.
Like in the negative zone?
Yeah, like
the negative zone.
And you don't age in the negative zone or some shit like that, you know?
Well, even in Civil War, Tony builds a prison in the negative zone. So you could basically, Doctor Doom did that.
Right, totally.
In the 60s, and they've been chilling.
They've been stuck in there.
That would be cool, too. But yeah, no, I kind of thought what you said. And eventually, like, Doom and the Fantastic Four have to come together to fight Galactus and kind of end it like that. Mm-hmm. And, the Thing, I think, his kind of arc is, the Thing is always the same. He hates himself at first, and I think he's got to be your MacGuffin at the end. Kind of sacrifice himself but survive, you know what I mean? Somehow, he sacrificed himself, thinking he's going to stop Galactus, and he thinks he's going to die, and he accepts himself.
I think one problem we've had with the Thing, and I get we've only had 3 movies plus the 90s one that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
The problem is the Thing is one of Marvel's strongest characters that never gets glorified like in film. He's just kind of like a side character to Reed, and Reed's the brilliant one, and he's just the hotshot pilot or whatever.
Well, one of the useful things about having a full Marvel universe is you can have those comparisons. You can actually show off how strong he is compared to like they did with Spider-Man in Civil War. But you could do the same thing with the Thing to show off, oh shit, he really is.
He could go toe to toe with the Hulk.
Exactly.
Yeah. Is that it? Are you good?
Yeah. I got Zac Efron's comic relief, you know what I mean? That kind of stuff.
Which he's got. Who would have thought he would have been?
He's very funny. He's very funny.
Yeah.
So mine is different than everybody else's. I am going a character Marvel already has, but they have not used, but we've kind of been introduced to, which is Nova. We've gotten the Nova core.
First of all, I'm already on board. But go ahead.
Yeah, Nova. Richard Rider Nova.
Yes.
We know that in Infinity War, Thanos destroys Xandar, right? So my pitch is that the Xandarian world mind, as like a collective, there's like a survival mode to it, seeks out a host. And it finds Richard Rider in the midst of Infinity War bullshit. Eventually, Rider makes his way to Xandar, finds the Nova Corps, learns about all this thing that's like in his head now. The Nova Force ends up taking over him. He becomes the one Nova, whereas we don't have, like John C. Reilly's Ray running around. He then goes on. He finds that there is one living member left, and I kind of went like a deep cut here, so I apologize. But a former Nova guy by the name of Pyrus Krill.
I love it.
Yeah, you're probably the only one who knows what I'm going at here. Who becomes a guy named Firelord. Mm-hmm. And so Firelord's the villain of the movie. Ryder seeks him out because he's the only former Nova he can find. But Firelord's going berserk crazy. They fight, whatever. Nova wins. The tag of the film, and this is comic accurate, there is one more herald to Galactus than Silver Surfer.
Yeah.
It's Firelord.
That's true.
So the tag of the film is prior to, in between Ryder finding Krill and him becoming Firelord, he becomes the servant of Galactus. So you introduce Galactus and you introduce Silver Surfer, and in that scene, Galactus sends Silver Surfer to Earth. You could also have the potential to introduce the negative zone there. Again, Nova has some backstory and history with that. That would help gateway some of the entry into the Fantastic Four. So if you're throwing around those terms, kind of like the quantum realm, we see it a lot in Ant-Man, but now it's going to be a big deal in Avengers. My casting choice is a guy named Callum Turner. He was Newt's brother in Crimes of Grindelwald.
Yeah, no, I can see that.
Oh, he can do it, yeah.
I... Only because I'm on a Critical Role kick, I want Laura Bailey as the kind of internal voice of the world mind for him. And Sean Bean as Firelord.
I'm on board with every bit of this.
Sounds amazing.
I didn't think you would be the home run. I think that sounds insulting. I don't mean it to be. But that one. First of all, Nova might be my very favorite Marvel character.
The best thing about Nova, and I'm sorry to interrupt, but he's like the best parts of Spider-Man and Hal Jordan combined together.
Well, he's got Spider-Man's everyman quality, except Spider-Man's not an everyman. He's brilliant.
Yeah.
You know, Richard Rider is you. You know, I'm super into this pitch.
Thank you.
No notes.
So who's the bad guy?
Firelord.
Firelord
would be the villain, and then you set up Galactus in the tease. Not so much for him later on, but as your overall, big villain. I also thought about including like the Annihilation Wave and Negative Zone and Annihilus in there, but
well, he has big connections to the Guardians. Him and Peter Quill become best friends. So
That's
cool. I was saying they both don't get locked in the Negative Zone. He saves Peter.
No,
Quill.
they both get.
Oh, they do.
Yeah, the Cancerverse. They get locked in the
Cancerverse. Yeah.
That was some good comic book shit. Right there.
So I'm not really familiar with the Firelord character. Are you, in your movie? Is he like immediately insane?
No.
Okay.
So it would kind of be like this former Nova Corps guy who survives the destruction, and it's like almost like a not necessarily slow burn into craziness, but since he lost everything he knew. He ends up turning to the one person who like calls him or gives him a purpose, which would be Galactus, and he's kind of corrupted by Galactus.
And he's got a cool look. His hair is on fire. He has a big flaming stick.
Because I love this idea that the new guy's going to see the old, season, the only person that he can find, and they, he's bonding and he's trying to learn from him. They develop a kinship, but over developing the kinship and learning together, it turns into kind of a training day situation where you realize this is fucked up. The wisdom that you're imparting to me is not good wisdom.
That's cool.
And then they have to, like, after they've formed kind of a bond, then they go into conflict
I
with one
hadn't thought
another.
about that deep, but I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
Thanks. So you said you had a couple stingers on yours.
Oh
also.
yeah, no, I forgot.
I don't want to skip those.
So how I thought the you introduced the Fantastic Four is you could have like Reed Richards in a science lab taking someone's blood and like looking at it under a microscope and saying something along like, yeah, you're right, your blood's mutating, similar to like what happened to us, with our powers. And he's like, do you want us to do more tests? And like, do you agree? And he'd be like, Charles, and then you scan out to like Charles Xavier, and then you could have him in his mind. Into like Reed Richards' mind, Charles' answer, yes, I want you to do more, like he's reading his mind. Thought that would be a cool way to introduce Charles.
Yeah.
And I was thinking Mark Strong, Charles Xavier.
Good.
And Jamie Lannister as Magneto.
Whoa,
I love that.
I like.
Definitely.
Yeah, those are good choices. Man.
Like you said, what a great head for that helmet.
Yeah.
It would be because they're wearing those same fucking helmets in Game of Thrones. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Those night helmets.
And he's just great at being charming and someone you hate at the exact same
He
time.
does remind me of Michael
he's a good
Fassbender.
choice.
Yeah, no, they're cut from the same cloth, 100%.
So
He's got like the Magneto Ultimate Universe hair already. So
Yeah,
I can see it.
yeah. I'm super on board with that.
I thought this went pretty good.
Yeah, I like it. Did you have any more?
I got one more.
Okay,
Oh
hit
yeah,
it.
I want to hear the Illuminati.
Okay, yeah, this one's.
I also thought about an Illuminati one.
This one's my most batshit off the wall idea, and you'd have to get the X-Men and Fantastic Four movies in there before you got to this.
Already established.
But do Avengers Illuminati, and I don't know if you all are familiar with Illuminati, but the way it works is there was basically for many years in the Marvel universe, there's been a secret cabal of Marvel. Did I say that right? Is that how you say that?
You did.
Yes.
All right, awesome. So that had been secretly like sort of fixing things and running things behind the scene. And from the MCU, I could see it being these guys. Tony Stark, a given. Doctor Strange, Black Panther. These guys were all guys who were in the comic version. Let's see. Professor X, Reed Richards. So let's say we start with those five right there. There probably could be more, but I'm not thinking more right there. And they're doing that thing. There maybe after the Avengers there isn't an Avengers right away. After and they're the ones who are sort of secretly running things. There was most of my things are always based on a comic book thing. So there was a storyline by a guy named Jonathan Hickman in New Avengers where basically there were these events called incursions. And during an incursion, you would have another Earth from another dimension appear next to ours. And I forget the exact mechanics of the MacGuffin, but basically champions from that world and this world would fight. And at the end of the incursion, only one of those realities live. So not just that other Earth dies, that whole other universe dies. So you introduce the Illuminati, you have them doing some sort of shady Illuminati shit, and they find out about the incursions. And the Illuminati is a little more morally ambiguous than the Avengers are, so they're willing to destroy another planet to save theirs. So our incursion happens, and the people they have to fight are the Squadron Supreme. Now, do you guys know who the Squadron Supreme is? It's essentially the Justice League. It would be the Avengers versus the Justice League.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Marvel has a set of characters called the Squadron Supreme, and everybody in it's from an alternate Earth, and they're, sort of analogies for the Justice League. Hyperion, Superman. Nighthawk is Batman. Dr. Spectrum is Green Lantern, that sort of thing. So basically, what I'm pitching is an Avengers versus JLA movie.
I'd love that.
I mean,
awesome.
I like it. Yeah.
It'll never happen, but that's
And it would be like the super pissy thing for Marvel to make a better Justice League.
I mean, that's why I want them
universe.
to do it, because they would totally do a better version of it.
The only thing that I would like when thinking about like what's coming with all these movies,
Right.
is you have a lot of characters that I think are somewhat morally questionable, more so than the standard Marvel heroes. Except for, Tony Stark, who we've only gotten good Tony Stark. We've never really gotten like drunkard a-hole Tony Stark.
Right.
Yeah.
We got old Hank Pym past the beating his wife.
Right.
With Magneto, with Cyclops, with Reed Richards.
Yeah.
These guys are all people who have towed the line on both sides as being a hero and a villain.
Right.
I mean, it's a really like shitty comic, but there was a while in the Ultimate Universe where Reed was like this evil dude from the future.
Yeah, he even shows up again in the most recent version of Secret Wars.
Really? Yeah. And it's not good.
I've not seen it. Yeah, he's like a computer.
Yeah, he's weird looking.
Yeah.
But, I want that included in these movies somehow. So I don't want it to go too far the other way, but I would like to see like a more morally ambiguous Magneto. Someone who's not straight like, this is the villain of all of our movies. Someone who kind of like Loki. I think Loki's a good description of what we've seen.
Yeah.
I want to see more of that.
Right.
Well, also, this is unrelated to anything, but one of the things we skipped in our news is that Marvel officially confirmed that in the events of the first Avengers movie, that Loki is under the influence of the Mind Stone.
Oh, yeah.
Which is one of the reasons he is more directly murdery and evil than he is in any of the other movies.
That's a good out, particularly when you're going to try to have a TV series.
100%,
Yeah. This is really off the subject, all this stuff. It was just, this is going to be like this is almost like a politician's telling a story. I was in a Dollar General in Milton, Florida. And I was wearing my Black Panther t-shirt with Jack Kirby art. I like it a whole lot. And the girl behind the counter was like, she was like, oh man, I liked that movie so much. That movie was so good. Which, first of all, is crazy from a girl working in a Dollar General in East Milton. Shit was not like that 20 years ago in East Milton. Things may be getting a little better.
Yeah.
But I was like, yeah, man, it was a great movie. And she was like, I was so sad when he disappeared in Infinity War. And at first I was like disdainful. I was like, this dumb bitch. She doesn't know that he's coming right back. But then I was so envious. Like, she was like, oh man, when he comes back, that's gonna fucking rock for her.
Yeah. They did it well. I mean, they really like have set themselves.
I know
up
there are
well.
a lot of like little kids who like wouldn't watch that movie because like they were getting upset.
Right. Also, I was thinking about on the way over here. Imagine, 10 years ago at this point, if they didn't put that 2-minute scene at the end of Iron Man.
Yeah.
I mean, like, not only would you not have a Marvel universe, who knows if we'd even still have movies at theaters.
I know.
Yeah, for
Like,
sure.
that kind of movie's the only thing keeping that shit going.
We just established last week that 4 of the top 5 grossing movies of the past year were all superhero movies.
Right.
It's all Disney.
I did think of another pitch, guys.
Okay.
That I didn't think of earlier. A Doctor Strange sequel. And I will say I've been reading a lot of Doctor Strange comics recently, so this is kind of inspired by that. That I know they set up Baron Mordo in the end of the first one. I say scrap that. Not that I don't think he couldn't do a good job. I think he's a good casting for it. But I say you set up Nightmare as the villain. And you Marvel's done this whole thing. Their most successful films of when they've made like genre films that happen to be about superheroes.
Yep.
You kind of do whatever you would consider Inception to be. which is Doctor Strange can come in and out of nightmares. You don't know what is reality, what isn't. You could have cameos of other superheroes, and you can see what their greatest fears are. You don't know when he's dreaming, when he's not dreaming. And one of the best parts about Doctor Strange comics is he doesn't always have to fight.
Yeah.
He can outsmart an opponent. And I think that movie, the visuals and what you have going on could be cool enough to where it is all building up to a trap for Nightmare.
I would like Strange has to hop into the different Avengers nightmares to save him, you know what I mean?
I think Nightmare's a great villain. I'm on board with that. He has a cool look.
Yeah.
Also, budgetarily, even comparatively to the actual Doctor Strange, it doesn't even have to be all like crazy sets and stuff. A lot of times it could be, Doctor Strange going room to room and getting stuck in that room and having to solve a problem.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
I love that. That's great.
That's my last
second pitch. I dig it. All right, is that it for everything? Anybody else?
I think
got
so.
anything?
I think I'm all pitched out.
Yep.
All right, I love it. Well, what have we been watching? I will start because I have not been watching much because my life is consumed by Critical Role at this point. I have finally passed Christian on season 1, and I cannot stop.
What episode did you get up to?
I'm on 73.
Oh, you are past me.
Yeah. Also, the wife and I have started watching New Girl. It is okay. It's good enough.
Yeah.
Jake Johnson's delightful.
Did that just get added to something?
Yeah, is that like...
I think it's been on Netflix.
Because
is this still going?
you're like the third person I've talked to in a few days who just started watching
Here's the
New
thing.
Girl.
It's all kind of in the same... So we've hit all the good television, right? The wife and I've exposed her to all the things that I have seen already.
Right.
We've watched Community. We've watched Parks and Rec. What else did we watch? I don't know. There's like this whole bundle of sitcoms that are The Good Place that all kind of fall under the same humor. And then we've kind of depleted them all. And New Girl is like, it's not quite at that level, but it's better than most other things.
Right.
So it was next on the list. But that's all I got. What you got, Ian?
I watched USS Callister. I watched some Black Mirror. So
Yeah.
I watched the USS Callister episode.
Rewatching.
Yeah, I love that episode.
That's a really good one.
God, it's fucking Meth Damon's so creepy in that shit. I watched Black Museum with the one with Shuri.
Yep.
Which,
Letitia Wright.
yeah, it was okay.
I think that's a good one.
I hadn't seen that one before. I hadn't seen all of them, I guess.
You fall asleep really easily.
Which one is that one?
I imagine Netflix
one
with
where-
their autoplay is bad for you.
The one where she goes to a museum in the middle of the desert, and the guy's like,
Oh, I haven't seen that one yet.
it's
That's the end of the
Yeah,
last...
it's-
You know, what are you doing?
I didn't watch the last season.
Oh.
Yeah,
I
it's
watched
got-
the USS Callister one, and I
that one's
finished
cool.
it.
Yeah, but yeah, I thought that one was cool too. So that's pretty much it, though. I saw those two.
My life is also mostly consumed about Critical Role. I am up to... I finished 71 today, so you're a couple ahead of me. My wife loves reality TV, and so I watched 2 shows with her this week, which are The Titan Game, starring Dwayne
Oh,
The
is
Rock
that good?
Johnson. Look, it's fine.
It's entertaining.
It's like American Gladiator mixed with American Ninja Warrior.
Yeah, that's what it
and
looks like.
it's pretty entertaining. I like the contests they have on there. Like, I think they're legitimately like do test you in strength.
Is The Rock annoying, or is he like cool?
He's not necessary at all. Like, I think the show would still be watched whether he was in it or not.
How much shit does he need to be in?
I agree.
That
He's
dude
so
is in
busy.
Everything.
I don't know how he has time to work out 3 hours a day.
I agree.
And do all the other shit that he does.
I also watched The Masked Singer, which is a show, and it's okay. It's dumb.
Who was the Masked Singer?
Do you want me to spoil it for you?
Yes, fine.
Antonio Brown.
Oh wait, I did hear that on a sports show.
And it's fine. It's whatever.
Could he sing?
He sang with a track, so you could hear Bobby Brown, and he was trying to harmonize with it, or he did okay. But it's a lot easier to do that than singing on your own.
We were talking about this concept before we started, but that's one of those things I've decided I'm going to experience purely through jokes. I don't want to see what the jokes are about. Because that's how you really tell if someone's good at jokes. If they can make you laugh about a thing you know nothing about.
Yeah, it's fine. That's it, really. Oh, I watched Apollo 13 because we talked about space movies last week.
Yep.
It's better than
I've
Transformers.
been watching a lot of football.
Oh, yeah. Last week, you guys didn't like that Ryan Gosling space movie. I liked that movie.
We didn't see it.
Yeah, we didn't see it.
Okay.
I
You
thought-
liked it, didn't you?
I thought it was okay.
I thought I liked
I
it.
liked the music was good in it, is what I thought.
So I don't step on any toes, you guys aren't going to do like an Aquaman Bumblebee episode, are you?
Probably not
Okay.
at this point.
Then pretty much all I've done is seen a bunch of movies.
Okay. Good. Now, go ahead. Good.
You saw Aquaman.
I did. I forgot.
I fucking loved Aquaman. It's the first DC movie that at no point was a chore to sit through. It swipes so much. There's no homage. It swipes. Every scene is a scene from another movie. It's like, oh, right on, Harry Potter. Oh, right on, Captain America.
Episode,
right on,
close
Iron
of Clone
Man.
Wars.
Or
Phantom Menace, that's what it is.
Well, the Phantom Menace, it was like two at once. It was like, is this Phantom Menace or is this Avatar?
Yeah.
You know? But I loved it. Remember when everybody said that Dwayne The Rock Johnson was going to be Schwarzenegger? And then he kind of ruined it by being able to act. Mm-hmm. Jason Momoa is going to be the new Schwarzenegger.
That's fair.
Because part of what makes this movie work is that all he can really do is just kind of dumb one-liners, and they work perfectly in this batshit crazy, over-the-top world. I also, the effects in the DC movies have always looked non-real. This is the first movie that really makes good use of that. Like, it just looks great.
I really thought it was good.
It doesn't look real. It looks great.
The Seven Kings of Atlantis were all different.
Yeah.
They went for it. Nothing was turned down in the idea stage.
That is the best description. They went for it.
They sure did.
Yeah.
I want to counterpoint that and say, because at the end of, I also watched Aquaman and I already forgot about it. But during last episode when we were doing our superlatives, we did a category called the most Transformers movie, which is the closest you can get to our benchmark of better or worse than Michael Bay's Transformers. To me, Aquaman is the most Transformers movie ever, in the sense that it's objectively not good, but it is super entertaining enough that you will come out of it having a good time.
See, I'll never watch Michael Bay's Transformers again in my life.
No.
But I would watch Aquaman.
Yeah, I've seen it twice.
Also,
it's a fucking nuts movie.
Who would have thought that Nicole Kidman at like 60 would still be able to fill out a fish suit?
The action scene in the beginning, Nicole Kidman kicking ass.
Yeah.
The costumes were one of my biggest complaints.
Yeah. See, the costumes were my favorite.
No, I know. That Aquaman
ridiculous.
costume looked great.
Aquaman costume looks
amazing.
Great. Most of the Nicole Kidman's and Mira's costume looked really awkward.
Particularly Nicole Kidman's like fish disguise costume. I fucking loved that.
Black Manta was cool too.
Oh, man.
Black Manta was great.
Yeah.
I wish they would have got a little more of an actory guy to play him.
Yeah, he's very much like a karate guy.
He's very much, I can say words. And whereas that works for Jason Momoa, it didn't work as much
to be fair, I think that's how they wanted him to be.
Right.
I don't know if that was that guy's fault.
Right.
They were definitely like I don't know, they wanted him to be an over-exaggerated comic book villain.
Yeah, right.
Every line in that movie is like delivered with like 90s cheese.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, we're turning this into an Aquaman episode. Okay. What was the other thing you got?
I saw Bumblebee. I also loved it. Best Transformers movie easily. I'll never watch any of those old ones ever again. The only complaint I had on both of those movies is they had these two like clearly defined mark out moments that in the shows I was in, nobody marked out. Nobody popped for them. And it was a bummer to me. Have you guys seen Bumblebee?
Yep.
Well, spoiler. This isn't like a plot spoiler, but they play You Got the Touch, and nobody in the crowd gave a shit. Similar in Aquaman, there's a part where he rides the seahorse, and nobody gave a shit. Also, aside, that's got to be some kind of shade that Julie Andrews was in Aquaman and not Mary Poppins, right?
Yeah, 100%.
I mean,
definitely.
And one more, I saw Holmes and Watson.
No, you
I did.
You're one of the 14.
You know what, man? It's not the worst Will Ferrell movie. The worst Will Ferrell movie is that one that's in Spanish.
Yeah.
That one's bad. And the thing is with these movies, if I get 4 or 5 laughs out of them, I'm okay. And I got like 4 or 5 laughs out of this. But I will say the big problem with this is they couldn't decide what the characters were. They couldn't decide whether he was smart Holmes, if he was dumb Holmes, if he was dumb and Watson was really the brains behind the outfit. They just kept switching between all that, and it made a lot of the jokes not work. And they didn't use Ralph Fiennes at all.
Aww.
He barely speaks a word in the movie. And I was so excited about him being in a comedy. Yeah. So that one,
worse than Transformers.
I mean, definitely worse than Transformers. The best Will Ferrell movies, because Will Ferrell himself is always going to be funny, but are the ones where they stick the premise.
Yeah.
And this, they did not stick the premise.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Well, he'll still probably make a couple more.
Oh, yeah.
As long as this one makes money.
And I'll still see him, because, I value a laugh.
Yeah, fair enough. But cool. I think that's it for this week. thank you guys for listening. Please rate, subscribe, tell your friends. It's how we get things out there. If you want to get in touch with us, if you have other pitches for Marvel movies, the things for Phase 4, just things you want to see from Marvel in general, you can reach us at betterthantransformers@gmail.com. You can also follow us on Twitter and Facebook @RealPhonies. Thanks to Zach Evans for art and Brian Velasquez for our theme. And we'll see you guys next week with something.